27-20, the Dallas Cowboys fall in Week 14 on Monday Night Football to the Cincinnati Bengals. A late special teams miscue leads to a 40-yard Jamar Chase touchdown catch and run, his second of the night, as the Bengals secure their first win in Dallas since 1988. Alongside Barry Church, Nicole Hutchison, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. This is the First Word presented by Dr. Pepper. It's an unfortunate ending to otherwise what was a game that looked like the Cowboys have played the last couple of weeks. One bounce off of a blocked punt, a freak incident that ends up turning the football over, gives it back to Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense, and they take care of business the rest of the way. Give credit to the Bengals in order to take advantage of the opportunity. It just feels like the Cowboys let this one slip.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm going to start on that special teams blunder that happened. And for all those who don't know, even if the punt is blocked in the backfield out there, the first person that can touch the ball cannot be from the Dallas Cowboys unless they're securing it. And that's why you should see everybody on that special teams unit yelling, Peter, get away from it, get away from it. Obviously, my man did not hear. I'm pronouncing his last name. I don't want to
Amani Oruwariye.
He did not, hear the Peter call, went in for the ball bounced up in the air. Bengals were able to jump on it. And that was unfortunate because it was a hard-fought game. And I understand there's no moral victories in football. We all understand that. But when you look at this team, they fought extremely hard for themselves and for the coaches out there, both offensively and defensively. You thought they did enough. We thought they did enough to go out there and get the job done. Offensively, they were extremely balanced out there. They fed Rico Dowdle. He was able to get over 100 yards once again. CeeDee Lamb had a pretty good day out there. Cooper Rush was a little bit inaccurate, but I feel like they made enough plays to get the job done. Defensively, taking the football away from Joe Burrow out there, and that defensive line made things extremely hard for Burrow the entire afternoon. But when it comes down to it, the stars for Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, were just too much for this Dallas Cowboys team to overwhelm. Even though they were able to get after him, Joe Burrow made play after play, even though he was under duress, and Jamar Chase gave this secondary all they could offer. To me, it was a hard-fought game, but the Cincinnati Bengals made enough plays to get the job done.
I want to commend the fight that the Cowboys did display throughout the entire game, but again, it kind of goes back to something that we've reiterated the whole season. You've got to play for a full 60 minutes, and when it comes down to plays like that, you've got to fly to the ball. Like, there's a lot on the line. You're looking for an opportunity to try to make the playoffs, so you've got to play the full 60 minutes. I loved what I saw with the first and third quarter. They're scoring on opening possession, so that set the tone offensively. Defensively, you saw DeMarvion Overshown, Micah Parsons making plays. I would like to have seen them get home a little bit more. We didn't see them getting any sacks until the fourth quarter. So certainly a good fight, but got to do more than fight when it comes down to these games.
It's just amazing when you see a guy of Joe Burrow's caliber, the way he maneuvered the pocket during the passing situations. We stopped him with the run. We kept him under 75 yards. They had time of possession. We talked about that about the time of possession. But this guy on third downs and in critical situation when you needed to make a play, Joe Burrows was just moving around, making plays, throwing to the little guy, Chase Brown, out of the backfield. Now, he didn't run for much, but he caught critical passes coming out of the backfield. His tight ends showed up for him. And once again, Jamar Chase.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God, man. We just need to drop a net on this cat because he was everywhere when he needed to be. After that blunder, you knew who the ball was going to.
Yeah.
And Jamar Chase, Joe Burrows, and that crew, that offensive crew, they're something special.
It's crazy how small the margins are when it comes to the NFL.
Yeah.
It really does, because we just talked about it. The way that you did everything you felt like you needed to do in this game. You ran the ball effectively. You played well up front despite some injuries on the offensive line. Your defensive front got pressure on Joe Burrow play after play after play, whether they got home or not, and I agree with you completely, Nicole. I think when we go back and look at this, there were multiple opportunities to take down Joe Burrow, but that's what Joe Burrow does. That's part of what his greatness has been in a season where, despite the record for Cincinnati, he would probably be in the MVP conversation. So there's a lot of factors to this. But one play, when they blocked the punt, even the first half of the play, it felt like Dallas, everything was moving in the right direction. If you recover that punt, you hop on top of it, you're already in field goal range to win the football game with one of the best kickers in the NFL. Instead, that one turnover gives the ball back, and it gives second life to one of the better offenses in the NFL. And, of course, the Bengals take full advantage. So when you lose a game like that, how do you move on? Because it's already been a tough season. You've got to had a couple guys go down again today. DeMarvion Overshown being one, Cooper Beebe, who just walked behind us, I believe, as another one. you lose a couple more guys in a season where you're already banged up. Where do you go from here after losing a game as tight as that, where you felt so good about the way you led into it?
To me, this is where the leaders in the locker room, the leaders in the coaching staff, they've got to rally the troops. I mean, you're just on an emotional roller coaster right there. If you think about it, look at that, the 2 penalties that backed the Bengals back. You thought, okay, 3rd and whatever it was, 20, we stopped them, getting the ball back, everything's going our way. You block a punt, the stadium is going nuts, and then you make a crucial blunder like that in muffing the punt and giving the ball back to the Bengals. You end up losing the ball game. So you're on an emotional roller coaster right now, but this is exactly where your leaders, the Parsons, the C.D. Lambs of the world, Cooper Rush, McCarthy, they've got to make sure they galvanize these troops and make sure they still want to fight for the rest of this season, because you still have a lot to play for, not only for the regular season, but for the name on the back of your jersey. You still have that to fight for. So this is where your leaders have got to come in big for this team going forward.
I like what Barry said about you still have the name on your jersey, and that's what it comes down to, and just fighting for your guys, too. I mean, a lot of these guys won't be here next year, may or may not be next year. So it just starts with some of the leaders in the locker room. But DeMarvin Overshone, I spoke with him a couple of weeks ago and asked him when they were having that losing streak. He said that you just have to get back to playing one game at a time. I think that there's so much conversation about the postseason and trying to stay in the postseason conversation. Just focus on what the task is and get the job done.
You know, the thing about it, I played 16, 17 years in this league, and Leon Lett had that similar, the same thing happen to him. And you know, he went and hid in the X-ray room back in the old stadium. We had to go pry him out of there, man. Everything is
that the
all
one
right.
against the Dolphins?
Yes,
Yeah.
in the snow game.
Snow game, yeah.
When you went through that right there, man, what you got to do, like you say, Barry said, as your leaders, you go and you rap with him. You let him know, hey, man, hey, we got games left. We need you. Bodies are falling all around us, you know. So you got to pick yourself up, you know, get in your playbook, get in your rules book, because after that happened to us, we had like an hour meeting the next day on just silly little rules like that. We call them silly rules until it show up on you.
Yeah.
And so, the coach going to go over it tomorrow a little bit, but, hey, you have plenty more to play for. You still got your division games ahead of you.
You got a couple division games ahead of you, and if you win out from here, you finish at 9-8, and you can sneak into the playoffs. You might need a little bit of help. Need a little bit of help at 9-8, especially in this NFC that's pretty wide open at the moment. But the opportunity is still there. Not as prevalent as if you take advantage of this. You're back within one game of 500. I mean, 5-8 is much different than 6-7.
100%.
Much different, and that's the case in terms of one play whenever it comes to this team. So let's go back to how we got here, because of course, you're not going to feel great about a loss, and there's a lot of bummed Cowboys fans out there. But what did you like in the way they got to this point in throughout the game today?
Well, one, offensively, I loved how they still have that balanced approach to it. You know, after that first Houston game where they threw the ball 55 times, I mean, we got rid of that game plan. They stuck to a nice, balanced opportunity out there offensively. You saw the creativity with getting Turpin involved out there, so hopefully they can add more phases to that creativity of the offense. And defensively, I mean, you saw this team fly around. I mean, you saw the leaders out there galvanizing the troop. Parsons yelling at the guys, we just need one stop here, and they were able to get that stop.
Plenty of effort.
You love the fight. You love the fight in all three phases. You just got to sharpen up some things here and there. But to me, what I love most about this team so far is the fight that they still have when they go out there each and every Sunday.
I think there's this thing called run game, you know, that they're sticking to with Rico Dowdle. I don't know. I'm starting to love that. I love his vision. I love the explosiveness that he's showing, and I think that they're finally starting to trust him. Yes, he did have a career day against the Giants, but you're seeing the fact that they're still trying to pound the rock with him, and they're staying consistent with this. I'm going to go with Rico Dowdle.
Hey, man, you got to put a LeBron James, man. Just turn off your phone.
That's it. Go
Because
dark.
every time we think we are special, I'm talking about the Cowboys, you start talking playoffs. Then you get hit in the head. Now you want to start talking one game at a time. Don't leave that. Focus on that one game at a time. And before you know it, the season is ending. You're at that 9-8, and you don't care what happened because you're building momentum for the future.
They would still be a great ending to the season if you are able to win these games down the stretch. Quick turnaround, of course, this being Monday night. You had the 12 days leading into this game. Now you play at noon next week on the road against the Carolina Panthers, a winnable game in that right. But you got to go into that regalvanized despite what was a really tough loss. It's going to be a tough week where, like you said, guys are going to have to step up in the locker room,
100%.
practice, and everything across the board. As we take a look at some of the final stats brought to you by Miller Lite, the Cowboys fall at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. Only the second ever win for Cincinnati in Dallas as they improve to an 8-2 record against Dallas, or they're 2-8 now against Dallas at home, and it's their first win on the road against the Cowboys since 1988. We've got more post-game reaction, including reaction from inside the Cowboys locker room. Jerry Jones speaking to the media behind us as we wrap up the first word presented by Dr. Pepper. Be sure to join us for Cowboys Game Night coming up in a matter of moments. For Barry, Nicole, Nate, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you next time.